So this is the ICA Intercultural Communication Division virtual workshop for submission to ICA 2024 in Australia, Gold Coast. I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Sudeshna Roy, and I am the chair of the Intercultural Communication Division for 2024 and 2025. So I started my tenure this year. And I am the program chair this year, but next year it is going to be Godfried Asante, who is the vice chair of the division, and he was just sworn in this year, so he will be vice chair for the next 2 years. Dr. Philip Superling is our secretary, and he was unable to join us. He had taken the flu shot yesterday, and he has a little bit of a fever. And he is amazing. You should be sending him any good news that you have or any announcements, and he generally sends it out to everybody in our membership. Godfried couldn't join because Godfried is welcoming twins with his partner. So he had to go to the hospital, which is wonderful. So best of luck to Godfried. And then for Yang is based in China. It's very late there. She's probably not being able to join for that reason, but we were hoping that she would be able to. But she is our international liaison officer, and she has some very bright ideas about how to expand the work of the division. And I'll let Daniela introduce herself.
Sure. My name is Daniela Jaramillo-Dent, and I am the student and early career representative, and I'm outgoing this year. This is my last year in 2024. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to any questions that you may have. Even if you're watching this recording, also please contact us with any questions about submissions.
Okay, so moving on to the first one. I know this is very short in terms of the form of font size, but I wanted to put in as much information on this page as possible. Basically, the presentation format is going to be what they are calling a hybrid conference. And by that, there are lots of little nuances to that word hybrid that I wanted to explain. So it's a hybrid format. As a submitter, you will designate each paper or session you submit as an in-person or a remote presentation before you enter any other information on the submission portal. So you have to identify yourself as in-person or remote. So the choice will be binding. That means if you say that you are in person, that you will not have an opportunity to change it after you have chosen that option and submitted your paper. Until you submit your paper, you can continue to change that given your circumstances. This indication will be used after reviews are complete and acceptance decisions have been made. What I will be doing is I will be looking at how many people are in person, and I have to put them together in a particular way, and how many people are remote, and I have to put some in-person people along with the remote people, because this is the catch. A lot of people didn't get it last year. You cannot send in a pre-recorded presentation of your submission. You have to join synchronously with the timing in Australia. So if you have, say, a panel that is going on at 10 o'clock in the morning in Australia, that means it is just past, say, 8 o'clock in the evening in the US, but you have to join at that time. So the hybrid format is that you will join in remote, so you don't have to go to Australia, but you have to join in at that time. So that I wanted to make sure that people understood it. I got so many emails last year. Oh, can I just send in my video? No, that's not what they're allowing. They would not even allow me to play the video, even if you send it to me. So that's the hybrid. Hybrid does not mean asynchronous. Okay. So as at least 30% of in-person sessions will be webcast. So that means that there will be some people in the room that are presenting in person, and some people joining remotely in those sessions. So there will be a fully in-person session, a hybrid webcast session, and an in-person poster session. And we are going to, Daniela is going to talk about the various types of papers in the next page. And then remote presentations, you should choose to make your submission a remote presentation submission if you are fairly certain that you will not be able to travel. Here it says Toronto, but it is actually going to be Australia because I took this from the website and they had not updated it. So this is the first aspect of the Australia conference. Any questions so far?
I have a question about a panel proposal. If some members are virtual and some are in person, would you designate that as fully virtual, or how would you do that?
We are going to designate it as webcast, hybrid webcast, which is the second one here. And that is perfectly fine. So we have plenty of rooms that are hybrid webcast rooms, and we will designate that particular one already pre-made hybrid webcast. So when you are putting together the panel and about to submit it, make sure that you put it as remote.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next, Daniela, take it over.
Yeah. So I will talk a little bit about the types of submissions and some details about the types of submissions you can send to our division. So in our case, we accept full research papers, maximum 8,000 words, including references. We also accept extended abstracts, and these are between 2,500 and 3,000 words. So on November 1st, you would submit this first version of the paper. And it is important that even if it is accepted, the full submission is not complete until you don't submit the full paper. And this deadline for this is February 12th, 2024. So it's just for people who have maybe works in progress that are developed enough that they can argue for this paper in an extended abstract, but a full paper is expected in February. The third type is the paper panels. And here in our division, we accept up to 4 papers around a coherent theme. And it should include a chair discussant, one chair discussant that serves as the chair and a discussant in the panel. And finally, we have the interactive poster session. So in these ones, in the process of submitting your paper, or you should indicate if you're willing to have your paper included as a poster session. So what this means is that sometimes some papers are not accepted as papers, as presenters in a panel, but they will be accepted as posters. So there is a part where you can indicate this. And I'll jump this note and I'll mention that later, but it is important to note that you can also submit conference theme papers. Sudeshna, this I have a question. So the conference theme papers, they're not division specific. They are submitted as conference theme, right?
Yes, so the conference theme this year is communication and global human rights.
Yeah.
So if you have a paper or a panel that talks about how elements of communication are intertwined with the idea of global human rights, it has intercultural communication in it, then it will not go from our slots. So that will be in addition to our slot. They will go into the conference theme slots, and they have some slots. So I think that it's a really good way to expand the work of intercultural communication in terms of however many slots we receive. Our slots, meaning sessions during the conference, and our sessions are determined by the number of papers we receive. That's why we are always encouraging people, hey, submit, panels, submit extended abstracts, submit research papers so that we will get more sessions. That means we will be able to showcase more work for Intercultural Communication Division. But if you had a paper or a panel that directly talks about global human rights, but has elements of intercultural communication, then it will not go from our slots the number of sessions we get, but it will be in addition to the conference theme slots. So I highly encourage people to keep working on these panels if they have any human rights type of implications.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think this note that I added about the papers that are under review is also mentioned later, but basically the idea here is that sometimes we don't know whether we can submit a paper that is under review in a journal. And here the answer is that papers can be submitted if they're under review up to the point when they're accepted. So if they are under review, if you have submitted a second review, a review and resubmit or something like this, you can submit it to the conference up to the point where it is accepted. So in some cases, you would submit a paper to the conference and then the paper will get accepted later in the journal. So this can happen, but it can't be accepted at the time when you submit it. And yeah, this is, I think, an important point. So maybe we can move to the next one. So
Yes, Daniela, can you please also do the next one?
Sure. So here, okay, so here we have some general tips. Basically, we want to talk about, about getting people together who have similar interests to us, who are doing works in progress that are interesting. A panel is, the important thing here is to make an argument of why this group is together. I have had a panel be not accepted before, and it was because of this reason, right? This argument needs to be very strong. It seems like an easier option because it is much shorter, but the argument has to be very solid about why this should be one panel. On the other hand, another benefit of panels, I think, is that you're definitely positioned with people who are talking about something that relates to your work, which in some cases can happen that it is not the case if you don't submit a panel, if you submit a paper, sometimes the mixes are diverse.
May I add something to this point as
yeah.
well? Yeah, so for the panel submissions, I just want to add to what Daniela said. Not only would you like to make a very clear argument why everybody's work is thematically aligned for that particular topic that you want to discuss as a panel, please make an effort to have panel members who are not all coming from one or two universities. ICA does not like they want variety in their panelists. So if you can have cross-disciplinary people, or not cross-disciplinary, cross-subdisciplinary people from a variety of institutions, that's wonderful. Or even if it's within the same subdivision, please have people from a variety of places so that there is a cross flow of ideas in that panel, and that would make it more interesting for the audience. That's what ICA likes to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question with this. Can the chair or discussant be from a similar institution?
Yes,
if the rest
absolutely.
of the members?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely, yes.
Now, the second idea is when you are an early career scholar, you know, the options we mentioned before, such as the extended abstract or participating in a panel. In many cases, these are works in progress. And in the case of a full paper, also, sometimes ICA will be the first place to review your work. Even if it is a full paper, it may be a draft still, and it is a very good way to have a first look at the quality of what you're doing and some observations of how it can be improved, even when thinking of submitting it later to a journal. Yeah, so this is the same point we made before. An important note here is that, so when you submit your full paper to ICA, the assumption, if you don't do anything, is that it can be publicly available to other members, the full paper, right? So there will be a moment when ICA will send, if you get your paper accepted, there's a moment where ICA sends you an email and says, you need to decide now if you want your paper to be available or not. And if this paper is, in theory, it hasn't been published, you may not want to have it always public. because you want to submit it somewhere. So sometimes it is smart to choose not to have the full paper available if there are some plagiarism checks or other checks that may be done when you submit.
But you can definitely make your abstracts available.
Yes, the abstract, yes, exactly. So what I do is I create a document that is for ICA specifically, that has like the main ideas that wouldn't be exactly the same as the full paper that would be submitted to a journal.
No, that's
Yes.
a great tip. I did not know that, Daniel. I usually go ahead and submit the full paper most of the
Because I used to work for a journal, and there was always this idea of plagiarism. Sometimes they do the plagiarism check and they reject you because it is available somewhere else. So some journals are like this. So this is something that really always stayed with me.
Wonderful.
So that's that. And then what else do we have, Sudeshna? Oh yeah, maybe you can talk about this.
So along with the submission, I thought that it was a good time to talk about these awards that we have, because a lot of people might have some financial considerations traveling to Australia. I wanted to talk about, there are two types of travel awards. ICC, which is Intercultural Communication, provides some, and ICA provides some. So I would always encourage people to apply for both. We don't have a whole lot, and we definitely try to look for people who have some bona fide issues in traveling. We all know that some portion of conference travel comes out of our pocket. It's just the name of the game. But we try to help as much as possible from our budget. So ICA also provides 5 registration waivers to each division for their students. And usually these registration waivers come with some, like predetermined criteria. Some of those are that some students must be from the global South, some students must be, there were a couple of others, like ABC tier countries from the United Nations designation of what is a B tier country or C tier country. So there are some designations that we have to follow, but there is no reason for you or anyone else who needs a little bit of help, because the registration is also expensive, to send in a request for registration waiver. If we can't give it, no harm done. The answer would have been no either case. But if we do have the capacity to include that person, then there is something to be said. We also have 2 other awards, Best Dissertation Award and Best Article Award, but it has to be published this year in 2023. So you have to have defended your dissertation in 2023, or you have to have your article published in 2023. So the calls for the Best Dissertation and Best Article Awards will go out right after the acceptance notifications. And what I have noticed is a lot of people wait till the acceptance notifications, which will go out on the 15th of January from ICA headquarters, to apply for these awards, because if they think that they cannot go to Australia, and we would always want to actually give these awards face-to-face to the people who receive the awards. So if they cannot go to Australia and they know for sure that they cannot go, they don't want to apply for these awards. But having said that, given that we are in a world where travel is very expensive, and we do understand if somebody doesn't want to go to Australia, but still want to apply for these awards. Daniel, that's what we talked about, right? That they can still apply? We can't hear you.
You mean if they don't come, if they are
Well, they have to pay the membership and registration fee because they have to be a member of the division. So there is that. But if they don't come to Australia, they are still eligible to apply for the awards, right? As long as they pay the registration.
Yeah, and the paper, yeah, and it is an article that is published, so there's no relationship with the submission and the article. They can't submit it for an award.
No,
I
that's true,
think.
but I'm talking about their appearance at the conference itself.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is mandatory to be in person.
No, but then you have to have paid the registration. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That's what the ICA people were saying, that if they don't pay the registration fee, then how can they be part of the conference?
Yeah.
So because the conference is enabling us to give this award. So if
Yes.
they don't participate in the conference, then how can they get the award? So
Yeah.
all you have to do is pay the registration and the membership to be eligible. So I'm going to make all of this clear when I send the call for the award in January, to make sure that everybody understands what is the requirement. But I just want to say that you still don't need to come as long as you pay the registration and the membership.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's where we are. And if you have any further questions, Daniela and I would be very happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this. I appreciate it. So
no further questions?
I did have one question. You can tell I'm putting in a panel proposal. It mentions in the requirements to put suggested divisional and interest group co-sponsors. What does that refer to?
So, for example, that if you felt that your theme or topic around which you are putting together this panel has further implications with other divisions, say, for example, you put together a panel and it has implications for ethnicity and race. If you designate at that place in the submission where it says whether this can be co-sponsored by some other division, that means that there will be a larger group of audience members to whom this panel would have an appeal, because it will be appearing as a co-sponsored panel. So it will be advertised in ERIC division as well as ICC division. Does that make sense?
So you
can
designate the primary division and then have a co-sponsor.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because your primary division is the one with which you have the most alignment in terms of the idea and what you're trying to do with this panel topic. But the co-sponsorship would be some supplementary interest from another division that would increase your audiences for that particular panel. So it will be advertised in both divisions, and then, you'll be able to attract more people that way.
Yeah, and since this is my first panel proposal, when it says there's 4 papers organized around a theme, we're drafting the papers. Is there a point at which we submit those papers, or the panel is the final product?
So the panel will require you to submit the abstracts for those papers. Okay. So you have to make sure that the abstracts are well written. The abstracts cover all of those questions. So you'll see, does the paper have a theoretical implication? Does the paper have a good method? It can't be just, some talk that was conjured up. Whenever you're asking these people to submit to you their abstracts, make them understand that the abstracts have to be really well thought out and must relate to that panel theme that you're talking about. So you have to submit the abstracts, but no full paper is required.
Okay. Thank you. This is very helpful.
Of course, anytime. So I think that brings us to the end of this workshop. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Daniela, for co-hosting with me. I wish you had met all of the other officers. They're just as wonderful. And I wanted to thank Philip especially for putting together the Zoom link, and as well as this PowerPoint. He started it, but he couldn't join because he had the flu shot. So do get in touch with us for any other questions. We are happy to answer them. But good luck with your submission.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, good to meet
Bye.
you both.